Motorists could pay less at the pumps as global oil prices take a knock. Oil prices have dipped from a high of $85 per barrel a few months ago to the current $67 per barrel. The drop is on expectation that supply will outpace demand.
Petrol prices in South Africa have risen to record highs of over 17 rand per litre, this following multiple petrol hikes and rising global oil prices. But good news may be on the horizon as oil prices dip. Economist Elise Kruger says this is due to fears of a global oversupply and moderating demand. She says they were expecting an oil shortage 2 months ago after the US imposed sanctions on Iran.
In pumping oil to the extent that they are now the biggest oil producer in the whole world, ahead of Russia and Saudi Arabia. So there's been a lot of supply from the US. OPEC has upped their production, sort of in anticipation of the impact of the Iran sanctions period. And in combination with also moderating demand, we now have a scenario building that there's an oversupply of oil globally.
Kruger says this is good news for South Africa. This, as a drop in the fuel price could result in a drop in the inflation rate. She says inflation for December could go as low as 4.8% compared to the forecast 5.2%.
That will result in the whole forecast curve moving lower into 2019, giving us a lower average headline inflation number, a scenario which I think will be quite positive when the Reserve Bank meets next week. And I think they will, in the light of this development, probably not have pressure to hike rates next week.
Oil prices are likely to rally if OPEC and its partners decide to cut output. Balintlim Tetwa, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Japan's economy shrank in the July to September period as natural disasters hit spending and disrupted exports. The economy contracted at an annualized rate of 1.2% in the third quarter. A devastating earthquake and typhoon were among the disasters to hit Japan this year. That prompted the bigger-than-expected contraction. The slowdown also comes as the United States and China trade wars continue, further hurting global trade and growth. The US-China trade impasse could hit Japan particularly hard because of its important role in the global supply chain. A local women's network in Kenya has set up a democracy trust fund. Its purpose is to support women seeking to take up leadership positions in the country. The fund will work as a savings facility for women aspiring to seek elective positions, as well as offer civic education support. It will seek to level the playing field in a country that still lags behind in women's leadership.
Political campaigns are a long, drawn process, a bruising battle that over the years edged out women, evidence in representation in positions of political leadership in Kenya. While many factors including prejudice, discrimination and culture affect who is elected to positions of power in the East African nation and indeed many other parts of Africa, money is at the center of low representation by women. To close these gender gaps, a local non-governmental organization has come up with a trust fund.
When we do research among them, what do they tell us? They tell us that they do not have an even playground to compete for leadership positions as the men do. The men have the titles, they're able to get the money. The men have cows, they can sell them. The men have land, they can sell it, but women don't have it. So when it comes to paying for the processes, some women are even unable historically to even pay for party membership.
Each aspiring leader will save money into a trust fund and will also have access to it towards the end of the campaign period. Members of the fund will also benefit from regular civic education and support. Kenya currently has just less than 22% of women's representation in both parliament and county governments.
We need to double these numbers. We need to give them capacity.
Whether the fund will achieve its ambitious targets will be known when Kenyans go to the polls in 2022. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Kenya.